Alright, so today we are going to be converting the Flylens 8503 version to the DJI-04 Pro. So besides the installation process, we're going to run through everything. I'm also going to be test flying it and share some of my thoughts about how I like about the Flylens 04 version. Alright, without further ado, let's get going. Alright, so for the parts that we will be using, the most important one is going to be the new Flylens 04 Pro frame. So if you have the 04 Pro camera, you wanted to make sure you get the 04 Pro frame. And if you get the Lite, just get the 04. So make sure you get the right one. Alright, so the reason why we have to make this update is because DJI, as usual, they just kind of design their product as their own will. And they just have a really weird screw hole mount that is basically all the manufacturer has to update their existing frame in order for the 04 camera to work. So I'm pretty excited that finally Flylens was able to release their update and we will be able to finally get a usable frame that is actually working properly. So without further ado, let's just get this installation going. And the good news, by the way, I forgot to mention, you don't have to solder anything, you just have to transplant. All you need to know is how to use a screwdriver. Okay, let's go. Okay, so let's just basically unbox this thing. So it's a very simple unboxing process. All you needed to do, I think most of the stuff are going to be the same. The thing that I'm seeing is going to be changing is going to be this like VTX basket. Obviously, it's going to be much smaller compared to the 03 version, and the most important one is probably this part. So if you just want to be lazy, you can just update these two. But since like I'm going to do it, I'm just going to update everything in this frame. So it's just going to be nicely done. Okay, let's bring out this and let's basically start to disassemble. So I'm not going to show you how to disassemble it because it's just removing screws, so let's just get it done. Alright, so basically this is going to be what it's going to be looking like after we remove. This is the main part that we want to be able to transplant over. So the rest of it, we could just probably leave it aside. So probably one note is if you don't want it to solder, just make sure you keep this cable on it. This is the 03 original cable. It should be compatible directly with the 04, so we don't have to necessarily remove it. Okay, let's see that it should be fitting. Let's just make a quick plug and unplug test. Okay, so this one, so this cable, let me see. Yep, it's going to be the exact same thing. So yep, no solder, perfect. Alright, so next let's start getting the 04 Pro installed to the new frame. So let's actually start with the flight controller, because that's going to be the main thing that's going to be holding most of the stuff. Okay, so let's just make sure we are going to be installing this to the correct location. Okay, this goes here, this goes there. Okay, everything should be fitting perfectly, that there's nothing that you are going to be needing to worry about. Okay, so wire is supposed to be the same length. It should be. Yep, so that's the good news when you're just upgrading stuff. So originally I was upgrading this one from the 75 and the wires was just good enough long, so lucky. Okay, alright, next we're just going to be mounting the motors. Actually, let's mount the flight controller first. Alright, so next is going to be the TPU part that is going to be holding this thing on. So you do not necessarily need this part because I think this is meant for you if you are having like the LED strips, or you're going to have a backboard, you will have somewhere to mount it and an additional receiver. But since we don't have it, you don't necessarily need it, but since like they include it, I'm just going to be putting it in like that. So you're going to be screwing the screws in like here, so it's going to hold everything in place. Okay, so later on we're just probably going to be adding some nuts on the top, but for now I think this is going to be working good enough for us to like just as a secure. Okay, let's just start by mounting these motors onto the frame. Okay, should be fairly simple as this is just like screwing stuff in. Okay, so once the motor has been mounted, it's all going to be looking like this. So the simple part is done. Next, we're going to be mounting this part. So basically, this is going to be the camera damping system. So yep, this is going to be the hard part, that you have to like kind of squeeze these little gummies into it, which the part I just don't really like. But let me teach you a trick that I found to make these easier to go in. Alright, so the trick is that you're going to use your tweezer to squeeze it all the way. Try to really squeeze this part so it's kind of like flat, and you will be able to kind of like start going in like this. So make sure you don't use like a really pointy tweezer because you're going to damage it. But so you can see that it's going to go in like this, a little bit by little bit, and finally it's going to be in. Yep, that's the way I found after spending hours of trying to like build quads. And this is the thing I absolutely hate when building the quad, because yeah, this is just takes a lot of time and effort. All right, I'm just going to be finishing the rest, so yeah, I'll see you there. All right, so we are done. You can see that everything has been completely mounted in. Now let's actually mount this camera onto this frame. So that's going to be the fun part. Alright, so next we will be start installing the antenna. Because this is such a light build, I was thinking about probably we should ditch these original antennas because these are going to be heavy, but you know what? I think we could potentially just use them. I don't think it's going to be a problem. Okay, let's actually just remove the screws because I'd rather achieve a little bit longer range instead of just using the linear antennas. Obviously it's going to save us some weight, but yeah, but I just think this might be beneficial. Let's actually just install it and fly it and see how it goes, because if it doesn't work we can always change it back. So we are going to be bringing out the, let me see, this part. So this part is going to be how we're going to mount the antenna. So you're just, yeah, same as the O3 system. You're just going to be pushing this in. Well, I don't know if this is actually going to be better, but we'll see. This antenna is so just basically touching each other already, so I don't know if this is actually going to be beneficial for the build, but let's actually just try and see how it goes. Okay, next we're just going to be taking this bracket out. We're going to mount the O4 system into it. Okay, so I guess either direction theoretically should be working. So a good part about Flywoo design is that you can see that all the stuff that you needed to access is going to be there for you to access, so you do not have to worry that some case that you might, yeah, just won't be able to get it, but yeah, this one you can. Alright, so after we have to insert this into this kind of bracket, all we needed to do is bring out the little screws that's coming with the camera actually. So these, I think I'm just going to use the original screws that is supposed to be screwing for your like O3 camera, and I think these are just going to fit a little bit better because the rest of the original screws is a little bit long. I think it's fine, but yeah, since these I just think these are going to fit a little bit better. Okay, so we're going to get 1, 2 here. Okay, so this should be sufficient enough to hold the thing right here. Okay. Later on, we're just going to be adding on those kind of like foam pads, so it should be sufficient enough to hold everything there. Alright, so next we will be mounting the frame. So fun part here. Let's just take out these little standoffs, start insert them into the frame. Okay, I don't know if we can get this over. I see. This might be a mistake that we just made because I think we can. Can we do it? Yes, we can. Okay, so good thing that we are able to get this thing over. Otherwise, you have to remove everything and do it again. Okay, we're just going to be putting this in. So it should be a complete push down all the way, that type of thing. So it should be simple. Next, you're just going to be bringing out these longer like countersunk screws. You're going to just enter it all the way down. Just kind of insert them in. And it should be sufficient enough because we're also going to be screwing this part in as well later on. And we're just going to tighten the screws. It should be securing the whole thing. Okay, looks good. Next, we're just going to find a way to hide this cable so it doesn't get into our way. I'll just use a zip tie later on to kind of like hit it, so it doesn't like drop down and hit the propellers. But basically, this is going to be the majority part of the build, and it's not hard. Okay, this might be a little bit heavy, but I think it's fine. I think we should be able to live with it, but let us just test it out to see how we like it first, and we decide if we wanted to keep it like this. Let's do a power up test to see if we are getting a working quad. Right, plug it in with the short savior. Let's see if everything is going to be working. But since that we're having an 04 air unit, so this probably will be turning red real soon. But it does seem that, at least for the initial setting, everything seems to be working fine. Okay, next we're going to plug it in directly, so we will be able to power it on. All right, let's plug it in for the real time. Let's arm the motors. All right, so I guess everything is working fine. Perfect. All right, so since the motor is going to be spinning, let's just go outside and let's test out everything. All right, so we're just going to be trying the Flylens right now. So currently we're just filming it in like the log, I believe, the D-Log M. And definitely this thing looks much more flatter than the 03. And yeah, so when you're flying at 85, like kind of frame form factor, it does feel a little bit more like you have a little bit more juice to go around. And since this is so small, you're able to hit those kind of gaps. It's just super nice, actually. Yeah, sorry I forgot to bring a camera, so the sound might sound a little bit weird. So yeah, but this is definitely fun. You are able to do a lot of stuff literally with this. Like, I'm kind of excited to use this in real estate because this thing, the footage quality is just so good. And for DJI, you always get like a really good range because like if you're just flying something else, probably it's not going to be good enough to like get such a long penetration and range. Yeah. Also for the footage right now, we're actually using I think we're using the ND8, so I think it's not enough actually. So we might have to fix it later. Yeah. Wish I can film these guys one day because yeah, I'm just kind of like in a hurry, I have to leave. But overall, the footage quality is definitely like flying a GoPro. This is just super insane that DJI was able to like generate such a good stuff. But yeah, we're not talking about more about 04 because yeah, when I always fly it, I always just got amazed with it. But for the Flylens, you can see that this thing flies really stable. And if you wanted to go really slow for your throttle management, it's definitely doable. It's super easy to manage your throttle. If you wanted to fly this in tight space, you can definitely do it. You can see that if you wanted to do like a really precise movement indoor, this is definitely going to be the craft that is going to be good for the job. So you can see, yeah, probably still have to adjust the rate a little bit because I think this is the default rate that I was using. But overall, hey, this thing is just insanely good. Okay, let's get this tree trunk. Okay, make sure we don't get anything. Okay, wow. If you're flying analog, you probably won't be able to see that little branch over there. So this is definitely something the way to go for future. Like for me, 04 Pro is just going to be for like smaller drones and you're going to put them on. And yeah, you can fly anywhere without like getting disturbing some people. And let me just fly this in front of me. You can hear that this is super quiet. Like you barely hear anything actually. Yeah, obviously, if it's in front of you, you're just gonna hear like a hissing sound. But overall, this thing crazily good, I would say. Yeah. Actually, there is a what is that? Oh, that's a solar board, I guess. I thought it was a camera. I was like, if I just fly it in front of it, probably I'm gonna get in trouble. But yeah, so I guess that's going to be my thoughts about the Flylens. It's just definitely something that a form factor I always enjoy flying. I never get to review the 03, but right now since like I'm putting it on 04, yeah, I'm just going to say that this is a really nice frame that I really like to use. All right, so that basically concludes our flight test for the Flylens 85. You can see that this thing actually performs really well even in outdoors, but yeah, it's not fair today because there's no wind. But overall, I would say this is going to be a very good form factor if you want like a really small job done, like indoor, outdoor, and just bring it in your pocket. This is just going to be perfect, especially right now. It has enhanced footage quality from the 04 system than 03. And overall, I think it's a lot slimmer than the 03. So yeah, The lighter, the smaller, the better. All right, so if you'd like to check out the Flylens, links are going to be listed down below, so just for your quick reference. And if you'd like to support me, please like and subscribe to keep me going. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Happy flying.